So, the other day I found myself at a loose end and there I was scrolling through my BT homepage and I stumbled on this film called Becky. Now I love a home invasion movie, be it The Strangers, Them, Last House on the Left, Straw Dogs, or even more recent efforts like You're Next. So I love the idea of a 13-year-old girl going up against impossible odds and using her wits to survive in the most goriest of fashions. I was going to do the video about Becky's mental health, as this is heavily hinted at right from the start, but the more I thought about it, the more I decided I wanted to say something about the brilliance of the first act, the character and setup, and then the slow decline of quality until the last shot, which, I feel, says more than the entire film, and I would have liked to have seen a bit more of. Anyway, quick recap. Becky is a film about a girl called Becky. She's played by the fantastic Lulu Wilson, and it's a story about a dysfunctional, awkward, and stroppy 13-year-old who is taken away by her father to meet his new fiancée. Becky is less than happy about this and sulks off to her treehouse and leaves the family trying to decide the best way to deal with this stroppy teenager. Anyway, at the very same time, a group of Nazi-tattooed inmates break out from their prison transport and, led by Tyler Tony from the YouTube channel Dude Perfect, they head towards the house where there is a MacGuffin key thing they need to retrieve. I'm kidding. It's actually Kevin James, who leaves behind his usual comedy pratfalling and gives a great performance as the head honcho Dominic. It's like a horror movie, Paul Blart, white supremacist. Anyway, the group arrive, kill Becky's dog, and then Dominic kills her dad, and this sends Becky into a spiral of invention as she outwits, kills, and gets damn lucky on her way to a Pyrrhic victory, where she ends up in an interrogation room giving her bland questioners the silent treatment. The film starts with Becky in the interrogation room. This perhaps takes away from more of the tension in the film, as we know this is where she ends up. But when we go back to this scene later on, it's brilliant because we get to see how this tragedy has affected her. Or has it awoken something in her? This is explored later. Becky is a frustrating film which gives us ominous build-up from character delineations, tension, and then completely loses all of that as the story progresses. One of the issues with the home invasion movie is what happens when the antagonists finally get their hands on the protagonist. There is always a build-up, the realisation that the home is not the safe place it should be, and we get into both synchronic and diachronic dissections of class, culture, domestic violence, sadism, and the wits of the unprepared fighting against those who have the upper hand. So, to look at the breakdown of Becky's three acts, we must look at the three-act structure of setup, confrontation, resolution. Becky's setup is masterfully done. Becky is dressed in an eclectic mix of clothes which very much signify her maladroitness. She shoplifts, then openly shows her dad what she's taken and acts out with glee and venom of a grieving child who has the burgeoning signs of opposition or defiance disorder. Becky meets her new mother-to-be and, at the dinner table where all good rows start, she lets them know she won't accept this relationship. In mirror to this upper-class setting where Becky remembers her mother in flashbacks and spends long periods hiding in the woods of the expansive estate, Ty, from Dude Perfect, engineers his escape from prison. As the leader of the group, Dominic stands out with the most simple of semantics which immediately strikes a chord with all of the viewers. A very large swastika tattoo on the back of his head tells us all we need to know. Two of the other burglars are disposable and, in true movie fashion, are disposed of in very gory fashion. One is stabbed to death with pencils and the other meets a boat propeller after a botched attack with a fishing line and a plank of wooden nails. The two important assailants are Dominic, who has spent thousands of hours planning this, and his Terminator Incredible Hulk hybrid Apex, played by Robert Milet. Apex is the inhumanly strong, invulnerable to pain and silent assassin who we learn everything we need to know when he's asked to kill two very young children, done off screen, and he obliges without a word. The death of this family shows us just what Becky is dealing with, monsters who will kill anyone and stop at nothing to get what they want, and psychopaths who have no qualms about beating a dad to death while murdering his two chipmunk adorable children like Jason Voorhees in a Disney film. Or are they both monsters? More on that and how this scene changes their dynamic later. Now we head into the second act, confrontation, and this is where the film improves again. We know Becky is going to fight, and that's what we're here to see. The odds have been sufficiently stacked against her to the point where one little girl is going to have no chance against this gang, and we get behind her guile and ingenuity. After evading the gang, watching her dad die and then killing two of them, Becky is left with Apex and Dominic. Apex may well be the toughest, but he isn't the one who killed her father, so we know that Dominic will be her Everest, her final boss fight that she will have to overcome in order to progress. It's here that we learn that Apex is guilt-ridden with the killing of the two children earlier and, after pile driving and then punching Becky, walks away from the situation to search for redemption. It's here that the confrontation part starts to decline. Once the attackers get their hands on the protagonist, the cat and mouse ends and all the menace is taken out. Becky is on the run, elusive and no match for these guys, and even when Dominic does first get hold of her, she uses her guile and her wits to take his eye, and then she threatens to bury his key so he'll never find it. This is how she escalates the conflict. But once Apex has her, then says he can't go on like this, the film loses all its menace and the tension drains out. The odds are slightly more even, and the audience's fear of what will happen to Becky if the insurmountable Apex gets his hands on her disappears. From here on in, the film isn't about ingenuity, child versus man, wit versus muscle, and starts going through the motions which disappoints. After using pencils, zip wires, boat propellers, and I wonder what's going to come next, we're left with a confrontation by the fire where the lack of proximity and Becky's bolshiness at surviving Apex diminishes the threat that Dominic has. In our third act, Resolution, Becky gets her revenge and it becomes more Home Alone mixed with Freddy vs. Jason than Saw or The Collector mixed with The Strangers. Apex returns at the very point Becky is on her knees and needs saving. She then is able to kill Dominic with a lawnmower. Then, as Apex gets on his knees and begs if he's done enough to compensate for killing the two children earlier, she shoots him point blank. After this flat resolution, we end up back where we started the film, in the interrogation room where two bland and starched adults talk down to Becky. It's here the film gives us the final and best shot as, much like Psycho, we zoom in on Becky's face and, as we question whether she was fighting for survival or just a little psychopath, all those oppositional defiance disorder seeds laid in the opening act are finally shelled and she gives the most insidious grin a 13-year-old could give before the film ends. Becky is frustrating as it stacks the odds against our protagonist, leaves a lot for the audience to interpret but seems to run out of ideas as the slats from the second act try and connect to the third. However, it doesn't take away from the performance of Lulu Wilson and Kevin James. Speaking of Kevin James, more roles like this from you, please. Anyway, that's my brief commentary on Becky, so until next time, I'll catch you later.